Okay, so now we are on the final part of this unit, which is involving scientific notation. So scientific notation is pretty much just a shorter way of writing long numbers and long decimals. So, for example, let's say I had the number 70 million, which is pretty long. To write this in scientific notation, you always put your decimal after the first number. So this becomes 7.0, or just 7, times 10. And yes, it's always to the powers of 10, because 10 is just going to get you anything. 10 to any power just adds more zeros, right? 10 to the first power is 100. 10 to the second is, 10 to the second is 100. 10 to the third is 1,000, and 10 to the fourth is 10,000, and so on. So you're dealing with exponents, which we've already been doing. So you put the decimal after the first place, and you count how many times you go over to the right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this gets you 7 times 10 to the 7th power. And you can go back, you can go from, so this is standard notation, and scientific notation is with the exponent. You can even look on a calculator. Let's say I didn't know what this was in standard form. I could plug it in. 7 times 10 to the 7th power. Oh, that gets me 70 million. And so you can also do it with the decimals as well. So let's say I had a very long decimal that read 0.0000021. Where do you put the decimal? After the first number. So this gets you 2.1 times 10 to the negative. This is now going to be a negative power since we're going to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that gets me 2.1 times 10 to the negative 6th power. So same thing. I can type this in my calculator. Let's say I didn't know what it was. And there we go. It gets me back to where I started. Oh, never mind. They're not putting it as a decimal for me. But it would be 0.0000. It would be this. And so that's how you go back and forth from standard notation to scientific notation, which is a lot of what you'll be doing in the last part of this unit on Khan Academy. So let's go back to Khan Academy. And so you can work with the individual quizzes here if you are struggling, but all of it's pretty much the same. It's dealing with scientific notation. So let me go to quiz 4. Okay, so on average, a human stride is 1.44 meters long. Choose the best approximation. So this would be pretty much this would be 1 times 10 to the 0 power, because this decimal doesn't need to move. Okay, now for this one, if I put the decimal here, it would need to go over 4 spots. So that would be that one. Approximately how many strides does it take to complete a marathon? So that's the length of the marathon, and that's how many strides it would be. So you can see it's 3 times longer, right? If I were to put this in scientific notation, this would just be 1, and this would be 40,000. So it's 40,000 times more, which would be this one, 40,000, right? It goes from 0 to 4. 1 times 4 is 4. Rules of exponents. When multiplying, you add. Okay, express this answer in scientific notation. Okay, so first you can expand this. If it makes it easier, this would get me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the other one would get me 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you added these numbers together, so sometimes it helps me when I put these in standard notation, I can then add them together and put them in scientific notation. Khan Academy does it a different way. And you can see which way they do it. I'll show you as well. But that way you can see which method works for you because everybody's different. So this would then get me 6.07 times 10 to the 5th power, writing it in scientific notation. So let's see how Khan Academy does this. So they add the numbers. Okay, so they wanted to make the exponents the same. So they moved this one over 1, and that changed to 54 times 10 to the 4th. And they added them together, and then you can multiply it by that. Yeah, this is the way they do it, but I don't like that way. But, you know, whichever works for you. It's always good to know different methods. Everyone's different. That way just seems a little confusing to me. Okay, so James had a peach that was 98 millimeters in diameter. One day he watered it with a magical solution and it grew to this. How many times larger? So if this is pretty much 98 times what gets me this? So what's the opposite of multiplication? Division. So let's divide these numbers. You can use a calculator. So this is an approximate. So if you want, you could put these, this is just the way I'm going to do it actually. So 188,869 divided by 98 gets me 1927, just about. 1927. Wait, hold on, actually. He had a peach. About how many times as large did the diameter of the peach before after James watered it? Hold on really quick. Let me try dividing this again. I think I might have messed something up. Okay, so when I divided this, I got 1927 rounded to the nearest whole number, which is rounded to the nearest thousandth would be 2000. So that would be 2 times 10 to the 4th. So that's how they would want you to do it. You're just doing approximations. Wait. 10 to the 3rd. Let's see how they did it. Okay, they rounded that to 200,000. They rounded that to 100. And then you multiply that. So then you put in scientific notation and you divide. And you get 10 to the 3rd. Oh wait, that sounds right. Actually, yeah, that sounds right, actually. I put this would actually give me 20,000. Sorry. Wrong one. 2,000 in scientific notation would be 2 times 10 to the 3rd. There we go. Okay, we've already did one like this. Let's skip this. A boy band has released 2 albums. Their first album sold that many copies. Their second, that many. How many total? Okay, well, let's try Khan Academy's way. I would just put this in standard notation, add it, put it back in scientific notation, but let's do it the way Khan Academy does. So if we move this over, this would then become 13 times 10 to the 5th. So then we're going to do 13 plus 5.9 times 10 to the 5th. If we added these together, this would get me 13 plus 5.9, which is 18.9. But the decimal needs to go after the first number. So if I'm moving that over, that means I need to add a number to that. And it becomes 10 to the 6. So 1.89 times 10 to the 6. And so that's the way Khan Academy would do it. I honestly like it the way I do it. But you know, you can do it that way. It's just that I feel like I would get confused with the exponent moving it back and forth. But you could do it that way. And all of this is pretty much the same. You're just dealing with scientific and standard notation. So I do recommend you practice on writing things in scientific notation. So once again, let's say I have 6,000. They told me to put this in scientific notation. You would do 6.0, which is just 6 times 10 to the 123. Let's say I was given 7.4 times 10 to the negative third. You would go backwards 1, 2, 3 spots, and this would get you 0.0074. And so you can just practice, back and forth with scientific notation, get some worksheets. Let me know if you have any questions. Good luck.